Hello and welcome back to Vocal Percussion 101. I've done 2 tutorial videos and we haven't even scratched the surface of vocal percussion. There are so many things you can do, so many sounds you can explore and experiment with, but today I want to jump a step back and take a look at the snare again. I know what you're thinking, haven't we already done this, Dom? Why are we going over this again? Why are we taking a step back? Well, the snare is maybe the single most important sound in vocal percussion, and you want to do it right, so I'd like to go more in depth on it. So I've talked about different types of snares, how there are inward snares, how there are outward snares, they sound different. I personally prefer to use an inward snare, so you're inhaling versus exhaling, so but even inward snares can sound different from one another. You can change the way an inward snare sounds. There are, breathier snares, longer snares, deeper snares, higher snares, There are all these different ways you could do a snare that may work better for whatever song you are doing it with. You may be going, what are you talking about, Dom? Where are you going with this? I think it's good to learn how to change the way your snare sounds a little bit. That way it fits better into whatever you're trying to beat with. So you can make the pitch of your snare higher or deeper. And that depends on where in your mouth your tongue is being placed, where that click is happening. Is it happening farther back in your throat? Is it happening closer to the front of your mouth? That will decide how high or how low your pitch, the pitch of your snare is. Did you hear the difference? So what I did was I started with my tongue at the front of my mouth, and then I moved the tongue to the back of my mouth and dropped my larynx, and that's how I got that deeper sound. Another aspect that might take an effect on the pitch of your snare is how the air goes into your mouth. So when your mouth is wider open, the snare is going to be higher, whereas if you were to close it more, there's a difference. It's deeper. I feel like when your mouth is more closed, not only is the snare a little deeper, but the sound is a lot cleaner, which is why I prefer to change the pitch by moving my tongue around in my mouth versus opening my mouth more. Another big difference in snares is what part of your tongue you are using. So a lot of snares I hear sound something like this. Okay? And you're using the muscles on the sides of your tongue. So, there's a lot more air coming in, and you're using the muscles on the edges of your tongue. But the snare I like to use, you're not using the very tip, but it's definitely closer to the tip of your tongue. And it sounds much neater, much cleaner. There's not near as much air coming in. That's why I narrow my mouth so much when I'm doing a snare. That way it limits the amount of air coming in so that I get more of a pop, and it sounds more like a snare drum. I talked about in my first video a little bit. Sometimes when you're doing an inward snare, you're getting too much air, and then it becomes hard for you to make any sounds, because you're filled up with so much air. And I feel like when your mouth is wide open, when you haven't narrowed it, you're getting even more air. So that makes it even worse. So that's another reason why I prefer to narrow my mouth when I do a snare. You could also lengthen your snares or draw them out more. So depending on what you're beatboxing to, it may be better to hold that sound a little longer, to inhale a little longer. So, if you're doing something fast, you're, it's very short. It's just, a pop. It's quick. But if you are doing something a little slower pace, you could draw that out more. You could, boom, 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 boom. Notice how those were a little more drawn out. They weren't super long, but they weren't, a quick pop. So yeah, there are a few tips on how to improve your snare and make it that much better. And there is one more thing I recommend. Drink plenty of water. Not only does it lessen the chances of you damaging something in your mouth or throat, but it also makes your sounds come out much more clean and crisp. If your mouth starts getting too dry, you're going to start losing that pop in your snare. So that's the end of my tutorial for today. I hope you've been able to take something out of this video. If you liked this video, don't forget to push the like button down below and subscribe to my channel for more great tips on how to beatbox. Thanks for watching and see you next time.